All right, everyone. How is it going? It's Monday evening. It's time for another Living Force. We got a special surprise guest tonight. We got an amazing topic featuring some of the most incredible people in the Star Wars galaxy. But first, we have the incredible action of the Incredible Wes. Punching it! What is up, everyone? Welcome into the Living Force, a UTD Network podcast. I am one of your hosts, Eric Eilerson, and joining me on the soundboard and other places is a complimentary of amazing characters, starting with the one, the only, the Doctor, the Corey the Helton.
What up? What up? Happy to be here. Been working on my trailer all week. It's coming along nicely, guys. Check out my YouTube channel. Smash that like and subscribe button if you know what I'm saying.
Awesome. Really great marketing not to tell them the name of the channel, but
That's
it's
right.
too late now. Next we have... But you know who would never forget that because they have the mind of a steel trap and the jawline of a Greek god? Wes Jenkins.
Hello, everyone. I have a tropical storm knocking on my front door at the moment, so if the lights go out, just, handle the show without me. I'm pretty sure you can handle it, but just FYI, there's wind and rain.
Wow. Well, you know what? I'm hoping those lights don't go out. But if your lights go out, the sun will shine all the brighter because she's in the northern part of the country on our very own Emma from the Cosmic Force. Emma, welcome.
Hello. Oh yeah, I love those sound effects. Those are good.
My goodness.
Hey guys, so excited to be here.
Yes,
back,
we're so excited to have you again on the show. We do not have Dr. Charles Henkel today. You know what? Fine, Charles.
Good.
Good. We did a one-part roundtable, and he's like, I can't do two shows in a row like that. I need a break. But we're so happy to have Emma here tonight for a very special event. And Emma, why don't you tell the folks, we teased it last week, what this episode is specially and how it's actually working into the rest of the week with all the shows in the UTD network.
Yeah, so this idea was sort of born out of a Cosmic Force sort of like planning meeting where we were talking about topics that we want to discuss in the future. And when we were talking about it, comics have for a long time been sort of toxic to women. And so we wanted to talk about it in the Star Wars sense. And when we were talking about it, I thought, you know what, let's get all 3 live shows in on this because we've done one crossover event that was about Shadows of the Empire. And we did that with Legends Look Back and Cosmic Force. And so I figured, you know what, let's up the ante. Let's get all 3 shows in on this because it's a great subject to talk about, women in Star Wars. And I think it's great to recognize all the great work that not only women who create Star Wars work do, but also the truly amazing women characters in Star Wars, particularly in the expanded universe. So I'm really excited that everybody agreed to do this, and we're going to have a fun guest on the Cosmic Force. And Legends Look Back is making their great return tomorrow night. That's Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern. With all new look and hosts and all of that. So really, really excited about this event. And thanks everybody at UTD for really making this happen.
Women.
So stoked. They're
That's
awesome.
right.
And I love that our first crossover event was accidentally about the most sexist thing Star Wars has maybe ever done. And then we decided, you know what? Let's turn that around instead.
That's
do
so
the opposite
true.
of that. Yes.
That's so true. I'm excited to talk about this one. I want to talk about this a little later. Remind me and we'll bring it back up. But when Caleb joined the team, one of the hosts on the Cosmic Force, when he joined the team, we were talking about something, and he brought up the term "women in refrigerators," which is one of the most fascinating things ever to me, and I want to talk about it later on the show. So let's do it.
We will definitely bring it back, and I'm sure that'll be a big hitting point in the Cosmic Force as well. But before we get to that, a couple little bits of business, as we do at the beginning of the show. As some of you may know, Corey, you can plug your ears for right now. This past Sunday, brought back the National Football League into the homes of a few nerds and a lot of football fans. And here at Utini, we do a fantasy football league, and I promise to keep the audience updated. So here is your brief Utini Fantasy Football League update. Now, every time we do this, there will be a Monday Night Football game happening right now every week. So, one, huge sacrifice by us being on this show and not watching the game. We love you. I do often. But also, these are the scores as they are right now. We want to give a shout out to our very own James, who is a Discordian, not a staff member, but he is leading our league currently with a score of 165. And we want to give a shame to our very own Andrew Bell on staff, who is the bottom of the barrel currently with 89 points. Now, if you will remember,
as he should.
Last week, we told you Andrew was the one who traded away Christian McCaffrey and Stephon Diggs for Derrick Henry and Julio Jones. And then this week, he played James, who now has Christian McCaffrey and Stephon Diggs and is getting the absolute tar beat out of him by 75 points. But overall, congratulations to James for having such a great week one. It was a great week one of games. Currently, I am slated to win this week, which I'm very happy about. Emma and Wes are having a little bit of a rougher time. Wes, you got a miracle tonight, though.
I don't have a rougher time, okay? So Lamar Jackson can easily score the 80 points that I need to win just at that one guy.
Or he'll score about 8.
Yeah.
Or he'll get sick and I'll have to sit out the rest of the game. But
Well,
I have
we'll
I have
see.
high hopes. And yeah, Andrew, enjoy your waffles at the end of the season because you're going to be eating a lot of them.
Man, we're going to do that Waffle House punishment. Emma, how you feeling about your team after week one?
Not super great. I already have 2 of my players on IR, so
rough.
not
That's
the best
rough.
start. But you know what? Congrats to Jacob for winning the first round of Cosmic Force matchups. There will be more to come because Tyler's in the league too. So I'm gonna get one of them next time, I'm sure.
You absolutely will. And since we have you on the show, before we go out to our patrons, I got to ask you, Mac Jones, what do you think?
Okay, loving Mac. I thought he looked really, really good. He's making some good throws. Team as a whole, I mean, we lost the Dolphins. That's just gross. I mean, I don't like that.
They are the smartest mammals. I mean, so there's something there.
That's true.
Yeah,
But
you have a point. I mean, what even is the flying Elvis? What even is that? I don't know.
It's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. But yeah, I hope nothing but the worst for your team, but all the best for you. And I can't lie, Mac, all the rookie quarterbacks look decent, especially Trevor Lawrence's hair. That conditioner is working overtime. All right. Thank you for your team sports talk. We'll keep you all updated. And of course, go into the sports Discord channel if you want to have any more actual football talk. We have a lot of fun over there as well. All right. Now back to the nerd Star Wars talk that our lovely patrons support us for. We want to give a shout out to a couple of our patrons, including Adam Bell, who became a new monthly patron, and to Jeremy Kazina, who upgraded to become a member of our Jedi High Council this week.
All right.
Air horns all the way. Thank you all. For real, this is getting us closer and ever closer to our Attack of the Clones commentary Patreon goal. We're very close. We're astonishingly close. And we cannot wait for that. And this week, we wanted to celebrate a patron of our own, who I see is in the chat, as he is most weeks. Our very own OK Endar is patron of the week this week, and he sent us in the following picture and the following message, which I'll be happy to read. He says the following. Hello, my name is Wesley, but most people I know call me Wes. All
Great
right.
name.
Huh. No, there are 2 of them. I'm a Colorado native and currently live in Littleton. My father introduced me pretty young to the original trilogy, and my interest in the franchise grew from there. My favorite Star Wars material isn't an easy choice for me, but I think I'm going to have to select the Knights of the Old Republic video games. Hell of a week for that, man. The story, characters, and music made the world open up in a medium I enjoy. Last year, I was doing some cleaning around the house due to the amount of free time I gained during the COVID pandemic, and I found my hardcover copy of The Revenge of the Sith that I had since 7th grade. I'm 30 now, by the way. And I decided to start looking around on YouTube for any reviews of current content. Utini popped up in the listings, and I grew to love the channel. After some time watching the great discussions and material everyone at Utini has been putting out, I decided I wanted to help keep keep the group moving forward. I appreciate everyone that is a part of UTN and how welcoming the community is. Being able to tune into an episode while at work makes the day much easier to get through. Oh, we're so glad, man. My question for the hosts. If you lived in the Star Wars universe and just became a Jedi Padawan of a master, who would you want to train you in the ways of the Force?
Ooh, that's a fun question.
That's a great question. From again, like we said, Wes, now Prime Wes for this moment. Okay, Endar. We see you in the chat. So many live shows. We love seeing your comments. You're an awesome member of this community, and we so appreciate you hanging out and asking questions like this. Now, y'all, Emma,
bring up
as
too.
our
Can't wait
guest,
to talk more about that today.
oh,
yeah.
God, I'm already shaking in my boots.
I know.
Emma, guest of honor, who is your master?
You know, this might be a tiny bit of a wild card, but I think I've got to say Leia. I think she's got a really great perspective on the Force, just because she's not really deep into all that like Jedi lore and drama of the past. Like she kind of has like a separated view from it. And I think that would be really great. And also, I mean, she's Leia. She's awesome. I think it'd be so fun to be trained by her.
Yeah,
absolutely. Love that.
Good pick.
I got one.
Go for it.
Quinlan Voss, baby.
Yeah.
I would love to be trained as Quinlan Voss. Like he's such a rebel and crazy dude. I love it. He's like barely a Jedi, if we're being honest.
He's a lot of chaotic energy. For sure.
He is. A lot of chaotic energy. I love it.
If you ever worked with Corey on a project, that it fits so perfectly. Yeah. You're like, we're just gonna go. We're just gonna do it. Go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Then Corey's master might be friends with my master that would train me in Rail Averos.
Rail Averos.
I feel like this is very fitting for you, Wes.
He seems like he'd be from the South, and he also seems like he doesn't even follow anything that the Jedi Order preaches. So
that's right.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
He'll teach me how to cut people up with a lightsaber, and then be promiscuous. I don't know.
Oh, he would. He would take you to bar and be like, "So, my Padawan,
the one with the Force is with me, and also babes, and beer."
Now, Padawan, what happens in the club? All right. Anyway, I'm actually gonna take. I'm looking in the chat here. Harish has a great one. I'm gonna take Jorah Mali. I think would actually be a great master from the High Republic.
Very good. Very good.
A master we don't see as much, but we do see like her teachings with Wreath, and we get to kind of see what her style is like in flashback and things like that. And I think that she would have a really awesome way of teaching like my personality, how I learn. I feel like it would fit very well with Jorah Mali.
Good stuff in the chat.
Yeah, what do we got in here?
Super Nerd Gavin says, of course, Wes chooses the Rail, the Texas Jedi.
That's his official name.
Although he doesn't have a good track record with Padawans, Wes. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Come on.
There's some Kanan, Jorah Mali, Elzar Man. Just some good choices there. Good choices there.
Who's my replacement master, Gavin? All right, after, what happens. If I needed to keep going, I gotta say, I probably wouldn't go to Comac like Wreath does. I
want the neck one. Who's the guy with the long neck again?
Yariel Poof?
Neck one.
I want Poof. Yeah, dude, Poof has a big thing in Tempest Runner, right? Isn't that Yariel Poof? Yeah.
Was that Poof? No, it's fingernails.
Yeah.
Oh, Upper Ramesses.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Snake Man.
It's not neck. It's not neck. It's fingernails.
It's fingernail Snake Man.
We need to just nickname all the Jedi Council and just that needs to be on a Utini t-shirt.
That'd be great. Yeah. Oh man. So one more I want to bring up in the chat. Our buddy Brian from Pink Milk's in here. He says, "I'd love to be taught by Mother Talzin. Teach about the Force with love, compassion, and respect for the lost. The Night Sisters really deal a lot with those they've lost. That would be great because not a lot of people do that.
Yeah, you can use shrunken heads to be
absolutely
as part of your Force training. Shrinking. That's right. I just said shrinking. I'm a doctor, guys.
Shrinking heads, come to the clinic. But yes, if you're watching this later on YouTube, go ahead in the comments. I never say this because we know we're live, but tell us who your master would be. I'd love to see some of your comments. Put them on Twitter. Put them in the YouTube comments. All the socials. We'd love to hear what you got to say. All right, now it is time for the Star Wars Weekly Roundup.
It's the Star Wars Weekly Roundup.
All right, folks, not a lot of news today, but maybe one of the most impactful news stories in the history of this show, based on who's on it. This week, if y'all missed it, there was a little something called the PlayStation Showcase, where all of us that worked at home and took our second screens and watched PlayStation trailers. And how it started was with a little teaser from I said, like, Lucasfilm. They're like, okay, is it Jedi Fallen Order 2? Is what we thought. And there was a little voiceover. And then a lightsaber got raised, and Corey put up the image that we saw.
Dun, dun,
it was Revan!
Dude, it was sick.
KOTOR remake!
Yes.
Knights of the Old Republic is being fully remade from the ground up for the PS5 and PC. And guys, what was your reaction to this news? When it dropped?
My first reaction was I need to get a PS5.
Yeah,
ASAP.
100%.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Never
Absolutely.
seen the quality of Darth Revan or Revan in that context.
The
You
only-
see, like,
Beautiful.
how quick it was in the animation, and then
Oh.
you're gonna do it.
It gives me chills every time.
The only
Yeah,
sad part about it is the giant. This is not actual game footage at the bottom of the screen.
Which
but
of course it's not.
yeah,
but-
this is huge though. I mean, the fact that this even exists is massive. Like, I mean, it's not a reboot, all right? Actually, you know what? Let me go back to that image. This is not a reboot. This is a remake, right? This is what it
like
says.
Final
It's got-
Fantasy 7. Like they're making the game completely with the new engine. And OK Endar just said in the chat, tomorrow, if you're watching us live on the 14th, GameStop is doing a PS5 drop for Pro members. So if you pay the $15 or whatever, heads up.
I'm super
So this has
excited by
been-
this. You guys know how much I'm
Yeah.
obsessed with KOTOR. Like, I've played that game.
You love it.
Like,
You love
probably in all seriousness, everybody exaggerates when they talk about this, but like I've seriously played all the way through it somewhere between 9 and 12 times. Like all the way through. I mean, it's a 20-hour game, right? It's not something easy to run through, right? And I'm really, really excited for this. Like, we don't know anything about it. They haven't released any details hardly, except for that it's going to start on PlayStation, a delayed release. It will come to the other consoles eventually. It's also going to come out on PC at release. It's a big deal. Total remake, modern engine, telling a similar story. This is really exciting.
Yeah,
Love
and
it.
they've been like, and Asper is the company, so it's not BioWare. BioWare is not officially affiliated with it now, but Asper has worked on a lot of remakes for stuff in the past. They're really good at kind of redefining stuff. This has been in development for a while. There's been rumors for years about this happening.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're willing to announce it officially, like, there's been some work going on. And I guess all I want to ask you all now is that whether we've played it or not, whether we're huge fans of it or not, what is one thing you hope coming out of it that might be, like, different? Like, what would you like to see in KOTOR remake that's completely different from the first one, but will still kind of have the spirit of the original game?
I would really love to see more flashbacks to the Mandalorian Wars. So
So new, like, cutscenes and stuff like that.
yeah, you know, it's so funny. Like, the Mandalorian Wars are not like, they're not like really a heavy part of either KOTOR 1 or KOTOR 2, but they're talked about literally every single scene, just about. Like, everything is all about how Revan, like, rallied all the Jedi against the Mandalorians, and he's sort of responsible for destroying the Jedi Order because they all wanted to follow him into war and become, like, war hungry and stuff, right? It's all that's Revan's defining moment, but, like, other than one or two little weird sort of flashbacks that you get in a cave, spoiler alert, on Korriban, right? There's not a lot of real rich story with the Mandalorian Wars. So I would love to see some, like, real flashbacks, like.
It's
That
like
would be really
actual
good.
added content, not just mechanics, like actual story content there.
Yeah.
I like that.
I would like the gameplay to be more hands-on. I was not a huge fan of, like, all right, block
RPG
here.
kind of mechanic.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
RPG
Like the
mechanic.
turn-based stuff.
Yeah.
Correct. So if it was a little more hands-on, I mean, I can tolerate the RPG stuff, but like having maybe a separate mission, or like a certain way that you can fight only in this way, like to like be able to block blaster bolts with your mouse or with your controller somehow, instead of just like press triangle for block.
Yeah,
Good job.
I recently started playing a little bit of the Final Fantasy VII remake before I got distracted by other games. But like that was an example where the original was very turn-based, was either very pixelated, and then they remade it, and now it is all real-time combat. That's also absolutely my number one. And Emma, before we went live, you said that you had a very, very specific tidbit you want to talk about in relation to our show as a whole. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, so while I was doing some research for our Cosmic Force Women in Star Wars episode, I came across a Star Wars Adventures author. She's written some issues of Star Wars Adventures, named Sam Maggs, and she's going to be writing this game, or one of the writers on it, which is very, very cool. And I can't wait for that. I think, one thing that I would want out of this game is maybe a little bit more representation. Obviously we have Bastila, who is a main character, but I think I hope that we'll get a little bit more representation. And I haven't finished the original one yet. I'm still working on it. I know. I started it like a year ago, but so far, I hope that we get like HK-47 back. He's hilarious. He reminds me a lot of 000. And honestly, it'd be cool to get maybe like one or two background characters that connect maybe a little bit to something in canon. I know that's hard with the time period and stuff like that. But maybe just, I don't know, connecting it to some more modern day Star Wars, I think would be really awesome.
Yeah. A couple like subtle things that they can just put in, like, the background lines that people are talking around, can mention some stuff maybe we see in the High Republic later.
A statue of the Prime Jedi in the background. Like that would be enough for me.
Yeah, that would all be incredible. And of course, obviously, one other unfortunate thing about this, if your mute list isn't great on Twitter, you've seen there's already people of other certain communities that are saying, well, Revan is canonically this, and all these women are gonna make this look. If you're new around here, hi, welcome to you, Teeny. If you are any part of a person that wants to harass anyone working on this game at all,
see ya.
and also think that like certain characters can't be women or that ruins anything, bye. It was nice having you here for the first 20 minutes of the show. Go away, because
one of the best parts
here.
One of the best parts of the Coach Work games is you can play as a woman. Like that's an option in the beginning of the game. Like, and it was somewhat controversial at the time to do that. Like, you turn-based RPG game, but it's not canon. Who cares? All right, I don't care about that. Right? There's a light side and a dark side version of that game, which are totally different. And like only one narrow path is like the quote unquote canon story. So who cares?
And who knows what it'll end up be as far as storytelling goes, but. Regardless of what happens, the sexism element will have no part in it.
I'll tell you one thing that was in the original game that I would love to see more of, just in general. I was thinking of while you guys were talking about that.
Swoop bike racing?
A minute ago. Swoop bike basically, but what if Charles would be so mad? What if we get a swoop bike game and not a pod racing game? That would be so infuriating. Oh my god.
No.
Yeah. No, the destruction of Terrace in that game is so incredible. And the fact that like Bastila is such a major character, like I mean, let's all be honest, Bastila was like my video game crush. I loved Bastila. She was such an amazing
Jennifer
character.
Hale, man.
Yes, Jennifer Hale played Bastila. Super, super good.
Oh, I love that. So we'll be looking forward to that. I'm going to guess it's going to come out at earliest holiday 2022. I'm guessing probably 2023.
Ooh, still 23, man. They released a CGI teaser, dude. 23, absolutely.
So let's say E3 next year. We get our first look at a trailer, and then we'll go. Or no, Celebration. What am I talking about? It's gonna be a Celebration. We'll get a trailer.
Maybe a teaser, a better teaser.
A teaser trailer, more than something.
And a demo disc. They hand out demo discs.
Oh my god!
You have to sign up for AOL.
I have a disc for this PS5. No. Oh, but that'll be fun. Another thing that'll be fun, though, is another thing we got this morning over on StarWars.com. Not everyone checked this out because it's not spoilery, but it's a little info on Star Wars Visions that's coming out. We got a brief little article this morning over on there that told us about some of the protagonists that are coming up. We have it on the screen now. You can just kind of meet the heroes of a couple shorts. They got some names. We have the Ronin there from the Duel, especially for those of us that are looking forward to that book, and a couple others. And we just wanted to highlight this because if you, like us, cannot wait for Star Wars Visions to drop, there's just some cool character names, some character portraits, and a few little interviews over there to kind of get you prepped for some of the people that we're going to see. And I mean, it's weird because we're in that, post Bad Batch life now. And every time I think about Visions, I just think this is going to set the fandom on fire in the best way. Like, I think everyone's just going to freak out. This looks so cool every time I see anything about it.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of new characters. Some people are going to latch on to. So, you know what? That's actually my favorite. Exactly. Who cares about Chewbacca? I want Ronan as my favorite
hat
character.
droid. It's all about B556, the hat droid.
I have found that this thing is a little lesser known too than other Star Wars projects. Like, I found this coming up in conversation like a lot lately. That like I've literally pulled up the trailer and showed them a couple tidbits to like 3 or 4 people in the last couple weeks because like. We're talking about, oh, yeah, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, have you heard about the Star Wars anime coming out? And they're like, no, what is that? So then I pull out my phone. I've done this with patience, too. And
good.
Yeah,
you can't leave yet. You can't leave yet. Sit here and watch this with me.
That's right.
I have one wish, and that is for Disney Plus. Just put it first on the banner on the day it comes out. That's all you got to do. Don't put it like 5th. Like Bad Batch in the end was like 3rd or 4th behind like the Air Bud spinoff or whatever. I'm like, I get it. Just put Visions first.
Air Bud.
It'll be coming.
I mean, eventually, if it's on Disney Plus, they'll find it. People will find it. So that shouldn't be too difficult. But yeah, having it as the first thing that shows up on the banner, I mean, people are like, "Ooh, what is that?"
Yeah, that's always a big deal.
It'll be cool, and I think that's next week. They all drop on the same day, and again, no pressure to our listeners or viewers, but we do know that the first week analytics mean a bit to shareholders and creators. So if you want more cool, weird Star Wars stuff, you got Disney Plus already, or you're on your friend's account. We know. Just have Visions running just in the background for, I don't know, a week or a month or a year. That's absolutely.
On all your TVs.
And one last warning, I guess, or piece of news for you all if you haven't been on Twitter and seeing this. We talk a lot about this show on... wow, nope. Taking that back. We're going to cut this out. No, we won't. We talk a lot on this show about pre-ordering books, about how important it is to get the sales up for the things we love, but also it's just fun to be part of the conversation. Whether you're in our Discord or on Twitter or with friends, it's really fun to be in that early hype of books, and it's going to be really important coming up because due to what's happening in the world, there is a publishing shortage right now. Printing is getting a little tougher for physical books and things like that. So if you're not pre-ordering your physical books, whether that be Star Wars or anything else, from the mouths of the publishers themselves, including our very own Tom, who's been on Twitter talking about this, it's going to be very hard to get books secondhand or in like a second printing for a while. So for upcoming books like Ronin, like Queen's Hope, like the upcoming Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy, Ender Lesser Evil, make sure you get those pre-orders in early, because if you want those books day one, you're gonna have to order them that way, or else it might be quite a bit before they make their way around to you again. So just a friendly warning from all y'all. I know a lot of folks pre-order their stuff. Some of you might be waiting for the holidays, but just because of this shortage, the physical books may take a little while to get there. So get those pre-orders in, head to the release schedule over at utini.com, and you can get those all set. All right, now that the plug is over for the things we want to read coming up, we are going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we are going to celebrate the women of the Star Wars universe. We'll be right back.
Darth Vader lightsaber lamp, and I just like... I just knocked over everything in my office so I could get this into the camera shot. I knocked one of the posters off the wall.
Anderson cover. I have heard the Anderson cover described by some friends of mine as one of their least favorite Legends covers, and I don't totally know why. Maybe it's just because Depa Billaba has this dead stare in the background.
You know what it is?
Emma, what is your art of the week this week?
Yeah, so I don't have anything as dark and depressing as that corpse, but
What's up, everyone? Hey, Emma, you made that.
I did it.
You made that ad.
That's
I don't have a segue for that.
That's a great
That's just a
commercial.
fact.
Thank you.
Well
Thank
done.
you. It was fun to put together.
Hey, speaking
Absolutely.
of women, that's what the show's doing.
Look at that. And fun.
That's why
so
I'm not in charge of transitions.
That's exactly it.
Oh,
we
yeah,
gave you an
Emma's a
audition
woman.
today.
All right, speaking of women.
Failure. So as Emma said at the top of this show, this whole week we wanted to celebrate not only the women that were involved in creating Star Wars from the beginning, but a lot of our favorite female creators and our favorite female characters. So a little later on, we're going to just share those with you all in case you're looking for something new to read. But to start out, women have been crucial in Star Wars since the beginning, but have not always been, what's the word? Represented at all fairly, I guess, would be the phrase.
Absolutely. I mean, Leia in the original, in the original trilogy, let's think about all the stuff that horribly was done to Carrie Fisher, right? She wasn't allowed to wear underwear in episode 4, right?
There's no underwear in space.
Yes, famously. That was in the roast of George Lucas. Carrie Fisher said that was literally what he said to her, is that you can't wear a bra because there's no underwear in space. Ridiculous. Then in freaking Return of the Jedi, they literally put her in underwear in that skanky freaking slave costume. And the outfit itself is called Leia's slave outfit. Can we just talk about that for a second? What the hell? How is any of this okay, even in the 70s and 80s? For Christ's sake.
It was rough.
I know. I always wondered that, as a kid. I was like, wait a second. What's happening?
Yeah, what is this show? What is this movie for kids going on with this scantily clad Leia just
in
laying
the
there in front of
yeah,
while they're doing drugs?
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
And everybody else is really well covered, and
even the Twi'leks, even the slave dancer Twi'leks have more clothes on than Leia does. It's it's unacceptable.
But what's been cool about that in the years since, what I loved it, because I think that came around really big a couple of years ago when people were boycott the merch and stuff because they were renaming it as the Hutt Slayer outfit, right? Because they're that's what she did. She killed Jabba, and people were Carrie Fisher, this is still your job to answer questions about this. And they're how, if I have a young girl, what do I tell her if I'm look at her heroes dressed like that? And she's well, tell her that I killed the guy that put me in it. In which Carrie Fisher's incredible.
I love Carrie Fisher so much.
And I think that's one of the things that obviously the first thing you think of, for a lot of us, we think of strong women in Star Wars, is Carrie herself, even outside Leia, because Carrie not only acted brilliantly in her early 20s in that thing, but she also script doctored Empire Strikes Back. She wrote some of the most incredible lines in the whole saga on the page because George couldn't write dialogue as well. And then we also had
Eric.
You can't write this, you can't say this shit, George.
Didn't she write "I Love You, I Know"? Wasn't that her?
She wrote
I thought that was
it
Harrison
was one of
Ford
those.
more
It was one of those iconic ones.
But yeah, it's Never Tell Me the Odds.
Yes, that was the
She
one.
wrote Never Tell Me the Odds.
Yeah, I mean that's so good. It's so good.
She was 24, and
Carrie Fisher was always very articulate in interviews too, when asked about when she was she was asked about sexist questions and stuff, even in the 80s and the 70s when she was doing interviews, she always had something witty to say about it. Yeah, okay, you can't wear underwear in space. Come on, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
she did it in a way that also allowed, obviously so many people to be inspired by Leia. And we also had the first Star Wars movie was edited by Marcia Lucas, George's wife at the time, because George shot a ton of film, and she's I got to make this a movie. And she got an Oscar nomination for she's the reason that the movie is what the movie is. And
is that a documentary or a YouTube series or something about something Save the Edit or something like that? You know what I'm talking about?
Something like that. It rings a bell.
Yeah, there's there's a big story about this. Look it up on YouTube. It's probably on YouTube. But famously the order of all the cuts, because there's a lot of cuts in episode 4, right?
Star wipes.
We go back and forth. We got Tatooine, and then Darth Vader, and the Imperials are doing things, and the Imperial Senate, all of that stuff, and they cut back and forth a lot. And originally that was not the pacing of the film. None of that made it seem like it was at the same time, and it was all screwed up. So famously, George Lucas's wife, saved Star Wars with the edit, right? It was her idea to cut it up and chop it up and to open the film with all the Darth Vader stuff. That was all her doing. So, arguably the most important decisions of that film were done by a woman, even in the earliest days. So women have always been in Star Wars. That's something that is cool and unique to Star Wars. I feel is even as old as it is, it's always been like pretty forward thinking, even with all of its, you know, we kind of joke about some of the sexist stuff that happened, but like it's always been pretty forward thinking, which has been cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the getting the garbage chute flyboy. I mean, that was like way ahead of its time. I mean, she just took charge of that situation. And one other thing about Marsha Lucas is that she did a lot of the trench run scene. Like originally, it was supposed to be like Luke making 2 passes at the thermal exhaust port, and she's like, George, it's too long, you gotta cut it down. and the unfortunate part is, like, you know, I had never heard of Marsha Lucas until a few months ago when I was listening I think I was listening to Blast Point's podcast, and they kept bringing up Marsha Lucas. I was like, obviously, you know, she's, you know, related to George in some way, and then when I googled her, it was like she's a film editor, and I looked at her films, and A New Hope was one of them, and I was like, what? How did I never hear about this? And I've been a Star Wars fan for all my life. It's just crazy, but you know, she really did like save the movie in many ways, but the spotlight isn't necessarily on her, and I'm glad that we're talking about it more today.
Yeah, and not to put you on the spot, Emma, but absolutely to put you on the spot. Blake, you talked earlier about how, you know, growing up with Leia as a young girl was so impactful with Flyboy and seeing her stuff and kind of like having that be what she was. How do you think Star Wars has gotten better from then in the prequels to the sequels to now, what we're going to end up talking about in a few minutes here, to the books, which I feel like the last couple of years have just exponentially kind of taken the baton and like thrown it into another stadium?
Yeah, so it's very interesting, like the progression of women from the original trilogy to the prequels to the sequels and beyond, because originally we have Princess Leia, who is like the only female character, I mean, besides like Mon Mothma, but come on, I mean, she's like the main female character that girls can look up to, and anybody can look up to. And while I did look up to her, you know, she is such like this ideal version of a person, like a lot to sort of live up to, I guess. And the same thing was kind of with Padme. Like, yeah, she had her sort of issues with Anakin and stuff, but she was like this amazing senator, and she cared a lot about people. And we never really got to see many women characters with sort of, you know, some more flaws until Rey, really, which is when I really saw myself in like a Star Wars character, someone who was like vulnerable, someone who sort of had all the odds stacked up against her. And I really liked seeing that on screen. And the other thing too, I mean, we get so many of those characters now in books, like such a wide variety. I mean, there's not just one single type of female character in Star Wars anymore. And I think it's just lovely. As time goes on, it really only gets better. Yeah.
And I think like, I'm just buzzing thinking about it. I think we should let's start talking about some of that stuff specifically in the books. But before we do, I want to make one general recommendation to our audience here. General. And that's a book that I've had beside me throughout this on our video show, if you're watching, which is a book I've recently picked up. I've been on my Amazon wish list for forever. And then one night, you know, when you're just on Amazon at 2 a.m. and you're like, I guess I'll buy that. I finally picked up, it's Women of the Galaxy by Amy Ratcliffe.
Oh, it's so good.
It's an incredible book, and it literally has every female character you can imagine, from Leia to Jocasta Nu to Hera to Dr. Aphra, and they all have individual portraits and just these little like mini essays about them. So if you are a person that's like, you know what, I know about Leia and I know about Padme, I know about Rey, but I haven't read a lot of books, but I just kind of want to fill my Rolodex of awesome female characters in Star Wars. Kind of a great overall recommendation. It's a nice little coffee table book. It is a beautifully, it is just gorgeously done, and every single writer, every single artist is either female identifying or non-binary in the entire production of the entire thing. So it's women writing about women, illustrated by women, and it's also just rad. I mean, look at that.
Oh, the back cover is great.
Gorgeous.
Wow.
The artwork is just stunning. Like, I want prints of like every single drawing in there.
Yeah, it's just really incredible stuff. And I think that, I mean, they have the most random people that are in one short story, and they have the biggest heroes ever. Like, you know, Brio Organa, who's regal. Look at the regality. But yeah, this came out a couple years ago, so there's no High Republic yet, but general recommendation for the whole. But Emma, I want to start with you. Now, you are currently away at school, learning, trying to become better than the three of us jokers, as you should and shall be, and are already, to be clear. What is a book, if folks are looking for a great book, canon or legends, starring women or written by a woman, what's your go-to? What would you say?
Okay, so I'm gonna go with the double whammy here. Written by a woman, starring a woman. Leia, Princess of Alderaan by Claudia Gray.
Good choice.
So
Correct.
Good.
I have it sitting right here. It's actually the top of my stack.
There you go. It's so good. I mean, first of all, you can't go wrong with any Claudia Gray book, like at all. I mean, she's a queen. This book specifically, the time period with teenage Leia, it's a awesome, sort of typical coming of age story, but like not typical in the way that like she has to face these challenges to become, Queen of Alderaan, part of the royal family facing these trials. And she meets Haldo in this book. Like there's some really cool things that happen. It's so well written. It was honestly, it might have been one of the fastest I've ever read a Star Wars book because it just gripped me the whole way through. And it was just, I mean, Claudia Gray writes Leia to perfection. I mean, even in Bloodline, like she just has such a great grasp on the character, even in these different time periods.
Yeah.
Isn't this book like super underrated too? Like we don't talk about Princess of Alderaan enough.
It was early.
Like,
it's an earlier YA.
Yeah, it was very early YA. This was part of the Last Jedi publishing initiative. And it sort of like slipped under the radar, I think. And let's see, I'm looking for a date here, 2017. So not very far into. Oh, this is a first edition. I didn't realize I had a first edition.
Look at that.
2017, right? And I totally agree with everything that you just said, Emma. This book was so good. Like Claudia Gray is like a queen at writing women characters, especially, and I mean, she nailed Leia. Like it was so good, like so good. Like talking about, there's a lot of Alderaan, like royalty, like stuff in there too. Like it's real good, real good. Know what Eric's doing?
Yeah, some Bail Organa.
He's always man himself.
He's always getting his adult Barbies off of his
that
desk.
Emma bought me, sir.
That's right, sir.
Yeah, we got some Bail in there. But yeah, at one point Leia gets to hold a sword, and it's a little horny sometimes. Just a little bit.
It's a young adult book. I mean, what do you expect?
It's a requirement for a YA book.
As our friends across the pond would say, it's a little cheeky now and then. Yeah.
Oh man.
It's a phenomenal book.
I'm like convinced that there's a relatively short checklist at the end of that the Del Rey publishers look at when they're talking over the final edits of the book. They're like, okay, are the characters teenagers? Check. All right. Is there sort of the coming of age essence? All right, check. Is there sex in it? Check. Yeah, like every single one. Like there has to be a requirement for a young adult novel. It's gotta have sex in it.
So speaking of, no, I'm sorry.
Well, I'll say real quick before I want to hear yours, Wes. Quick plug. There's also a manga version of Leia, Princess of Alderaan.
Oh yeah, I always forget about that.
The first volume just came out in English. It's been translated slowly, but there's a manga version. It's on Amazon. I'm sure it's on Utini. We got a link to it. So if you want to read that story, but you want to get that medium, you can get volume 1 of the manga currently.
Yes,
I believe so.
It is called Leia, Princess of Alderaan. I just realized that Claudia Gray is the only author to have manga adaptations of her books. Like she both wrote Lost Stars and Princess of Alderaan. That's pretty cool.
I believe let's see, we just had a manga episode, but that was when I was moving in, so it wasn't on the episode, but I believe there was one that just came out that broke that streak. It was
that's right. The new one.
Guardians of the Wills by
Guardians of the Wills. That's right.
That's right. I forgot about that one.
I might get that one. I like that.
Yeah, it was a really good book. I can't wait to check it out.
Check out that episode.
A little side read, but yeah, that was a fun little. It's short. It's like little bitty, but it was good.
How dare you? How dare you?
What?
Anyways, let me.
So was Napoleon.
What do you got for us?
We almost conquered Europe.
What do you got for us?
So, my book was. I don't want to speak for everybody, but I'm going to. We were all surprised at how good this book was because we thought it was. When the Galaxy's Edge books came out, we thought it was kind of like a marketing ploy on try to get your ass down to California or to Florida and get into Galaxy's Edge and give me your money. But
I'm trying, Disney. I'm trying.
So, A Crash of Fate by Zoraida Cordova was a book that a lot of us had picked as kind of like our favorites or top 5 favorites of the year when it came out. And now it's a YA novel about Izzy and Jules that kind of get into some mischief, and then Izzy has to like deliver something to Doc Ondor, and Doc Ondor is on Galaxy's Edge. You can go see him and I guess his own little shop. But so an excerpt here on UKG.com says that they're thrown in the reemergence of Izzy's old gang, and you have a fast-paced heist adventure effortlessly interwoven with a beautiful love story. But it was super, super good. I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't a giant marketing ploy. And Zoraida Cordova did a great job of writing it. So I just wanted to make sure that we pointed that one out.
And there's a cave scene. That's a little cheeky.
There is definitely a cave scene.
Oh,
That
man.
and Lost Stars. There's like
Yeah, there's a lot of cave scenes that go on in the YA novels.
Was that you last week that said ladies love caves? Was that you, Wes? Or was that one of our other podcasts?
I would never say anything like
That might
that.
have been a patient
I think that was
yours.
I think that was you. I think that was you.
No, that's again a great one. That's these like I think each year we kind of talk about some of the adult novels because they carry over a little more, but some of the YAs we have a great time and then we move on and we kind of don't talk on it as much. So 2 really good choices right now. Corey, what do you got?
I have one. I recommend this one a lot. You know, I was actually just looking at the UTini site too, really quick, while Wes was talking, and I didn't even realize we had it this high. But Leia, Princess of Alderaan is actually number 10 in our reading order, right? So we have on our site like a sort of, you know, we don't like reading orders that much because, you know, I'd rather you experience your own journey. But if you just want something to follow and just read Star Wars books, all of them, read all the Star Wars novels like in sort of an arbitrary order. UTini has built one that you can use. Of like, you know, kind of going through different eras and stuff. And Leia, Princess of Alderaan is number 10 on the list. So it's got an 8.9 too. It's pretty dang high. So
It's great.
That is high.
Next one I have that I often recommend to folks early on, especially if they're big fans of Rogue One, is Rebel Rising.
Maggie in the chat just said it. Yes!
Yeah.
It's great.
I love this one. I was debating between this one and Leia, Princess of Alderaan, honestly. So I'm glad you
Not
picked it.
nearly as cheeky as the other ones. This is very violent.
It is very violent. It is very violent. Here's this like little excerpt from the back is like it says, this is a quote. It says, an emotional and engrossing glimpse into Jin's past and an absolute must read for both longtime and new Star Wars fans alike. That was Alexandra Bracken with New York Times. And like, yeah, I mean, seriously, this book is so good and it's really dark. There's like, you know, Saw Gerrera's Rebels famously like terrorist attack like a party of a bunch of rich people, and it's like that level in Call of Duty called No Russian where you just walk into an airport and kill everybody, like just innocent people. Basically that happens in this book. So when Mon Mothma is like, yeah, Saw Gerrera has caused problems for the rebellion. That's what she's talking about. It's like, yeah, so you know, we believe in justice, and Saw Gerrera's like, let's gun everyone down with machine guns. And it's bloody and gory and violent, and it's good. Yeah, and like sort of the climax of this book in storytelling is like the quote that Jin says in Rogue One, where it says, "You left me in a ditch with nothing but a blaster." Something, a knife and a blaster, something like that. What does she say? What's the quote?
I forgot.
Yeah, the last time I saw you, you left me with nothing except a knife and a blaster in a ditch or something like that. Anyway, that's in this book, and like that's
incredible.
All for story, and it's very, very good. It's very, very good.
And the background behind a lot of her aliases too.
It is.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
And it's great because, like, also Jin Erso was so early on in the Disney acquisition with Rogue One. It was, again, Disney putting another female lead at the front of a movie franchise.
That's right.
And it was, like, again, something that we started with Rey and then immediately to hit it with Jin. Like, it was really huge of them to decide to do it, and also to make this book, to have another woman kind of fill out another woman's backstory. It's just this huge team to make this incredible character that's the center point of one of the most critically and lauded films ever, honestly, as far as Star Wars goes. Like, Rogue One is always in the conversation about top Star Wars films, and it's because of Jin, and it's because of these characters. So absolutely love that. I got a stack behind. I got a YA as well, but I'm gonna break the cycle for this round. I'm gonna go to one of my favorite adult novels. We talk about this one every now and then, but again, it gets forgotten sometimes. It's by Christy Golden, who's one of my favorite authors that played a little in the Legends Playground and then also played in canon. She writes a lot for Blizzard now. And that is Dark Disciple.
Good
This
pick.
book,
choice.
speaking of amazing female characters, Asajj Ventress is one of the most incredible, dark, twisted, yet multi-faceted, layered characters in the canon now, thanks to Clone Wars and this book.
Featuring my master.
Featuring your Master Quinlan Voss, of course, on the cover. And I just love this cover and the back cover. Like, the artistry is just incredible. But if you don't know this book was originally going to be a storyline in the Clone Wars before it got canceled. This was actually just a full storyline with Quinlan Voss and Asajj Ventress, mainly focusing on like Ventress's dealings with him and things like that. And then they said, you know what? There's no way this will ever come back. There's no way. So they just made it a book, and this book is one of the most kind of accusatory of the Jedi in a way. Like, you really get to see all the problems that we have with the Council and the Mace Windu jokes we make, all at the forefront of this book. About are they hypocrites? Are they not? And you get to see Asajj Ventress deal with the power of the light side and the dark side, and you get to see who started out as kind of a cartoony villain in the first episode of the Clone Wars ever with Yoda. Gets to come all the way to this book, and it's a really incredible story. And Christy Golden just, I mean, forgive my language, she just writes the shit out of this book. It is so well written, and is one that every time you bring it up, people are like, oh yeah, Dark Disciple. I love that book. So
That's
again,
Eric,
older ones as well.
Wasn't that arc written by Katie Lucas as well? And there's a
I
forward
believe it
in
was
there by Katie Lucas.
I believe it was. And again, like Leia, this is also a slightly older book. I think this is 2017, 16?
Oh,
It's
it's
right there.
ancient.
2015. So
No.
this is like early. So highly recommend Dark Disciple. Christy Golden hasn't written a Star Wars novel in a little bit. I hope we'll get her back. I know she's working a lot in the World of Warcraft world right now. Get that money. Write those books.
Get
Love
that
it. But
money.
hopefully we get her back.
Go girl.
Love you, Christy Golden. Emma, what else you got?
All right. So there's so many that I want to pick. But I'm going to pick one that I know nobody else is going to pick. And I have just such a strong love of this book. And I think nobody talks about it a lot because it's a junior reader. And it's Spark of Resistance by Justine Ireland.
Oh, the
It
red
is
cover.
So good.
Ah!
Yes, there it is. I love that cover.
With your girl.
You, my girl, yes,
Right.
Ray. So we get a Ray, Rose, and Poe story, and getting to see Ray and Rose together, which I wish that happened in 9. My goodness, because they have such an awesome rapport with each other in this
Love it.
book. They basically go on a mission. It's a very confined story, but they pick up a distress call and they go and help, and they find that the First Order is trying to take the secret weapon. And, the stuff hits the fan, and as it always does. So, and I just love Justine Ireland's writing. Like, she is one of my favorite authors. I could pick like literally any of her books. Something about her writing just really clicks with me. And this book was no different.
Yeah, I remember grabbing anything and everything that was going to be for the Rise of Sky before the Rise of Skywalker came out, and I read that one right after Resistance Reborn. And I was like, oh, it's pretty good. And then there was like the aliens that they were trying to save. I know I looked them up. They were just weird looking guys, but I forgot
Yeah,
what
they
they were.
kind of look like rabbits, but kind of
Yeah.
Kind of like
yeah.
Jack. I don't think they're Leppies, but they look like Jackson. Yeah.
That's one of the main things I took away from that book. I was like, those are some weird looking aliens, man.
And there's a good High Republic connection. The scientist that they were working with, the name is escaping me right now. She is also in A Test of Courage, and she works with Staros, Avon
Staros.
Yes.
Whoa! I didn't.
Yeah, it's a really cool Easter egg.
I love that.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, so I remember Spark came out. We got sent it. I'm like, oh, all right, we'll see if we can check it out. And I read it through. I'm like, you know what? It's a fun. It's an adventure.
Yeah.
It's a fun adventure.
Anything where
also-
you get more Ray, I would highly
Oh,
encourage.
for sure.
We haven't
100%.
gotten a lot of Ray in a book.
Yeah.
And I need some of that. Screw
Ray
the
and
films.
Rose, I
Yes.
totally agree. Like
100%.
like reading that before the movie was really great because they don't get those scenes in the film, but you can try to, if you have this in your head, you can try to read that into the film in the silent moments. You know, we got to put in the legwork now and then to make that make a little better for ourselves.
Yeah, and on a total side note, Justina Ireland
Yeah.
also writes about how awesome Poe's hair is, and I need to throw that in there. She knows how good it is.
The female
and she
gaze
makes
is a
sure
real
we know.
thing. It's a real thing. Okay.
Yeah.
It's magnificent. Look at that hair. I've seen him in. I watched a movie with him yesterday. I watched a TV show with him today. Oscar Isaac's hair defies physics.
You watched it with him? He came over? He went to his house.
He was busy. He was busy. He was at the Met Gala or something. I don't know, but. Wes, what do you got next, man?
So I think this one's already been taken, but I'm going to leave it for probably Eric. I'm gonna say Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker by Ray
very
Carson.
good.
This is a good
Totally.
pick.
A Ray on Ray.
Absolutely. This is the expanded edition, if you will, but it is it's the novelization of The Rise of Skywalker, and it gave us a lot of insight into the movie that everybody was, when they left the movie, were like, well, how the hell did that happen? How did
Speaking of Marshall Lucas, sometimes a woman has to come into the movie that the men make and make it make a little more sense.
Absolutely. So a woman, thank God, had to explain to a lot of men how the hell Palpatine is still alive. So that was
Somehow.
she did a great job of doing the kind of the symbolism in the book, and then like I think I specifically remember the fight scene between Rey and Kylo on the second Death Star and with the waves crashing. It was greatly it was great. But this was one that we all like read within a week of getting it. It was like
it's
real
up there.
quick.
It's up there with some of the best novelizations. I would say it's definitely in like the top 5 for sure.
She basically
maybe
wrote
top
out
3.
what happened at the end of the Darth Bane trilogy in like a page.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, it's essence transfer. Great, got it.
And it made
Yeah.
perfect
Thank you.
sense too. Yeah.
It made a lot of sense, and a lot of people don't know. They're like, what do you mean Palpatine? How did he come? How is he still alive? Like, well, you have to get the book. Like, why can't you just tell me? I was like, because money. That's why. Because money. And every time you buy a book, it helps out the authors. You fool. But then I told him after I
As
yelled
Don Draper would say, who is the antithesis of this whole episode, I'll admit, he would say, that's what the money is for. It's Mad Men reference. Thanks to 4 of you that enjoyed that. Corey, what do you got? That's a great pick, Wes. It's a great pick.
All right. One of my favorites of all time, Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray, and my special celebration edition cover, which
Hold
is
on.
it has a
I'm not jealous.
texture.
I think Corey's getting a little cheeky.
Seriously, this book is printed on some kind of can. My hands are getting sweaty. I need to stop touching it. It's got like some
right.
canvas feel to it, right? Yeah,
Gotta put on
seriously.
the book gloves.
I know, gorgeous 2-page spread cover of Master and Apprentice.
Hold on.
Very, very good. I got this book famously at Celebration by hopping a fence, basically, and not waiting in line for multiple hours. Yes, I'm sorry, whoever I cheated out of that book because you were just missed the line. I'm sorry. It wasn't my fault. The security guy dropped the chain right in front of me. What was I supposed to do? Oh no, sorry. I need to go get in the line. Like, no, bro. I went to get the book that I wanted. So.
And you're still on Celebration's most wanted list.
Anyway, I know,
That's right.
I know. It's seriously the luckiest thing that's ever happened to me in my life. Anyway, Master and Apprentice, one of my favorite books of all time. Super, super good. Really sets the precedent for like what Master and Apprentice like relationship and dialogue and storytelling should be in writing. Like it's very, very good. The bickering between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, the philosophy, like the disagreements with the council. It's just it's a pretty deep book, and I blew through this entire book in like 2 sittings, and it's so good. It's so good.
And it has Wes's master, Rail Averos, shows up in there. Rail Averos. And then, of course, it features another, again, written by a woman, Claudia Gray, featuring mainly dudes, except the young woman that basically has all the ruling political power in the entire book.
Yeah.
See it.
Who's awesome and has, again, if you haven't read it, no spoilers, has a pretty
That was smooth.
Sweet
Eric.
journey of
That was
her own.
smooth. There was a very good, interesting way you could have addressed that, and that was very smooth. So I wouldn't have thought to do that, and I know for a fact that Wes would not have thought to do that. So I'm glad
Absolutely not.
glad neither one of us
Absolutely
talked
not.
about that.
No way.
Oh my god, I was listening to your Rebels show, the Ghost Crew, the other day, Eric, and Charlie literally name dropped you, Wes. It was so funny. Did you listen to that
that was
episode?
hilarious.
Yeah, Eric's like, no spoilers, no spoilers. Charlie's like, yeah, I'm not
God.
Wes. I was like, oh, boom, roasted. It was
Still
so
have nightmares,
good.
but I did to Jacob's fiance. Still have nightmares about it.
Charlie's not even in our Slack, and even she roasted Wes.
gets
It's
it.
fantastic. Oh man.
Oh my gosh. All right, I'm going to take a little bit of a curveball here. I had another one I was going to go to, but I want to go to Legends for a bit because we're talking a lot about canon, because one of the great things about the new Star Wars canon is that there are a ton of women writing Star Wars books. I mean, every time there's an announcement, it's more than likely a woman writing a Star Wars book. I mean, we got people like Claudia Gray, E.K. Johnson, Delilah Dawson, Rebecca Roanhurst, Justina Ireland. Like, the list goes on, as it should, and it keeps growing every time. But Legends had a few. We had the Republic Commando books by Karen Travis, which a lot of people absolutely adore.
That's right.
But I am going to bring up this bad boy here,
Ooh,
which is the
good
collected
choice.
edition of the Han Solo trilogy by A.C. Crispin.
Ooh.
Great
Because
choice.
I will say still, as a person who adores canon, I'm more of a canon guy than Legend just because of what I've read. I think A.C. Crispin writes Han Solo better than any writer alive, except for maybe one who I might mention the next go around. But this is a trilogy of Han Solo books. They're
Show
some
the
of my
back.
favorite
Show the back.
in all of. Oh
Show
yeah,
the back.
you just want to see
Oh,
Java?
yeah.
You want to
Yeah,
see the?
baby.
Oh, that's so
Yo.
cool.
This is the Barnes
love
and
it.
Noble edition of this book. The
big
Paradise
boy.
Snare, the Hutt Gambit, and Rebel Dawn, and it's about basically if Solo Star Wars story didn't happen, this is what happened to young Han, and it is the young rapscallion turning into the guy that walks into the cantina on Mos Eisley, and it is just beautifully written. You get to see Han through a lot of the big points in his life. You get the Chewie introduction, you get the Lando bits, you get some new characters. There's a lot of love stories back and forth with Bria, who's also a character I really, really love, that Kira definitely took a lot of inspiration from.
Yeah.
But A.C. Crispin, so fun fact, a lot of Legends folks and people don't know as a whole, is a woman. And she just did, I think, an incredible job with these books. I believe she passed a few years back. But this is available.
She did 2013.
Yeah, so she passed a little while back. But her books live on, of course. They're all 3 paperbacks are great. But this Barnes and Noble edition I especially love just because it's real pretty and has a little ribbon in it. So I like the ribbon, Wes. I'm a ribbon.
Why?
I'm a ribbon
Why
man.
don't you want to wear the ribbon?
I like it. Han Solo trilogy, get some Legends in you.
Super underrated. AC Crispin. Really wish she could have gotten the opportunity to write more Star Wars, because Han Solo trilogy is truly phenomenal. Truly phenomenal. You know.
All right, let's do it. Go ahead.
I was gonna say.
I'm
Speaking of Legends, Trevor in the chat earlier brought up one of the most obscure Legends like references that I've ever heard of. Is He said,
love you, Trev.
so I've been thinking about my favorite women in Star Wars, and Jen is totally up there. I guess earlier we were talking about Rebel Rising, but I couldn't help thinking about Arden Lynn. It's old school video game stuff, but even then she was a badass. And me and Wes are both like, "What the heck is this?" And we I looked it up. Wes had the smart. He just asked him in the chat. I Googled it, right? Arden Lynn, interesting character. Here, let me switch to the screen share really fast because this is interesting. Arden Lynn, this is her video game
Arden Lynn,
rendering.
of course.
Total
How did I
badass.
forget about
Yes.
Arden Lynn?
Yeah, never heard of her. But she is from the Masters of Terrascasi video game on PlayStation 1. And she has the most chaotic, crazy story ever. I skimmed the Wikipedia article a few minutes ago and it's what the heck? Look at her, she's jacked. It's awesome. So
It's
strong.
like Kira in War of the Bounty Hunters.
I was
It
going
is.
to say, she's bigger than
It is.
Kira.
Look, she even kind of looks like Kira. in
It's all that
picture.
Terrace Casti.
I know, exactly.
Wow.
Oh,
Exactly.
that's
So-
awesome. I still have my PlayStation 1 in my closet over here. So that might be
Wow.
an eBay purchase.
Dude,
Can
do
you play
it.
the KOTOR remake on that?
I probably can.
Solid pull. All right, let's do another round, and then we'll talk about some characters in Reddit who may have missed. So Emma, go into your mind in your Sherlock mind palace. Uno mas. What do you got?
All right. Here we go. My first adult novel choice of the evening, Phasma by Delilah S. Dawson.
Hey, shout out
So
to Meg.
good.
I
Yeah,
can hear
shout out,
Meg
Meg.
shouting in the universe.
It is so good. It's the first one of the first canon books that I read, and it's the first book that I've ever read in my life that has ever made me stay up past midnight. It was just
What?
Oh my God, Corey.
Hold on. Hold on a
Oh
second,
no,
Emma.
what did you do?
what just happened.
What- How long ago was this?
Just whenever it came out, bro.
She has a healthy sleep schedule, Corey.
Four
You
years
have to
ago.
do that.
I need a solid like 8 to 10.
I have no comment.
I wish I could get 10 in.
Did you not
Jeez.
like it, Corey? I mean,
Oh,
it was
I
so
loved it. It was
good.
very good. Now I'm just
No, Corey just always goes to sleep after midnight. Is what he
so
said.
young. You're so young.
Yeah, I know. So, anyways, all that is to
Phasma.
say, it's the first book I couldn't put down, and like
we go.
Delilah, she wrote it so good. It felt like Mad Max, kind of like
Ooh,
I don't know
Mad Max.
the parts with the sort of like bunkers that are all deserted. It's been a while since I've read it, but I remember just they found like a Naboo cruiser, and that's how she made her armor. Like, that is so cool. What the heck?
Yeah.
And the story with Vi and Cardinal, and having Phasma's story be told through Vi is like that's such a cool concept for a story. I would have never thought to tell a story like that. And now Vi is like this huge character. She's in the Disney parks. That is insane. And Delilah, she created this character. And I mean, so many good things came out of this book, and it's one that I have very fond memories of, for sure.
And she got to meet her. Like, if you guys were on Instagram back when Galaxy's Edge opened, Delilah Dawson got to meet Vi Marathi in what I assume is one of the trippiest experiences of your life, to have a character you made up be played by a person that speaks to you as that character. Like, hi, like,
Mother, are you my mother?
mommy. I'm sorry, mommy. Sorry, mommy.
The Dr. Seuss book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
remember
really
reading
wish
Phasma.
I really wish I would have read Phasma before I read Black Spire, because that's pretty. It's
a solid
like
prequel.
the prequel to
Yeah.
Black Spire, right? So, that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to spoil
there you
anything
go.
for anybody
I have
else.
Well
I have
done,
a thing.
Wes.
I have
I'm
a
looking
thing.
at the
You
chat.
saw me digging.
I have many Corey-esque reactions to my sleep schedule. I just
Emma, what? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Guys, we take the lead reading. That's funny. All right, so I have a thing. You saw me digging for it. I was trying to think. I haven't seen this in ages. All right, so last week or two ago, we got a Patreon message or a Discord message. Someone asking us that we need to do a History of Utini episode, and we should. It's on the calendar. We're going to do
coming.
that coming
It's
up.
coming.
But I have in my hand something also very unique to Utini's history, and that is the Utini magazine.
Oh my God.
Issue number 1. And this is back in the day of the Utini book boxes. When I was planning this idea in like 2017-ish, this is a prototype of what the book box was going to be, of what the magazine was going to be, and the book that came out like a few months earlier was Phasma. So that was the inspiration for the first version of the Utini book box. So I have this red, we have this custom artwork done. It's supposed to be Cardinal on the cover. And the whole
my
theme,
God.
the whole theme of the Utini magazine. This is the only one I have in existence, by the way. It's the only one left. It's the only one I have. Like, and I've tried to keep it in really good shape, but it's all like red and Phasma theme. Like, you know, you can see the Phasma kind of excerpt at the top there. Talking.
Oh
so
my God.
This is all the stuff that was in the box. And
The memories.
I know, man. It really goes back. And here's the featured book all about Delilah S. Dawson's Phasma. This is the very first version of the Utini magazine. I haven't even looked at this thing in years. Like, I had the timeline. Here's the first version of the timeline. This is the
my
Utini
God.
timeline,
Yeah, I
baby.
remember that.
The
I'm
first
not
version.
crying. You're crying.
I know. It's crazy. And we based it all around Captain Phasma. There was even a place in the back that you could leave your own review for Phasma and take a picture of it and stuff. So, man, long
That's
time ago.
amazing.
Long time ago.
Wow.
But Phasma is what we based it off of, because you're right. It was a super fun book, super under the radar. Like,
yeah. It's not talked about enough, I don't think.
it's good. It's good. Yeah,
No.
it's really, really good. And like, not a lot of people have read it. It's also massive. It's a huge book. Like, it takes a
Yeah.
long time to get through, and it's really good.
There's a lot in it. It's one of those ones that I remember where I was when I finished it. I was substitute teaching a science AP class back when I lived in Michigan, and I was just reading this like book about like horrendous mental strain and torture, and the guys were like, "Oh, we have a day off in chemistry," and I'm like, "Y'all shut up! You don't even know what I'm going through over here." Solid pick, great. And yeah, if you have read Black Spire and haven't read Phasma, you got to go back. If you haven't read either. I would recommend doing Phasma first, then Black Spire. They're both really good, and Delilah is the champ. All right, Wes.
100%.
What do you got, man?
Okay, so one of the main books, probably the main book that got me to want to rewatch the movies all over again, specifically the prequels, was E.K. Johnston's Queen's Peril.
Yes.
Queen's Peril, 100% makes you want to watch want to watch episode 1 all over again to pick up on everything that you missed in the movie, because the book was so good about bringing out all the details and stuff behind. This is the one where they were they were imprisoned, right? Like outside the palace.
Yeah, the concentration
and then
camps.
Naboo prison camps.
Yeah, good lord. And she was it Sabe the one that got tortured?
I'm not gonna say who it does because that's another spoiler.
No, it's
Wes.
not. I'm sorry, it's not her.
It's not.
Is
Sabe.
it? No, that's not a
It's
spoiler.
another one.
It's in the first book. That's revealed in the
No,
first
it's
book.
not.
No,
No,
it's
it's
not.
not.
No, it's not.
It's not.
No, Peril
No,
comes
she was-
before Shadow.
Yeah, it was. But no, she was. Who was the one that was tortured in the first one, though?
Read
I
the
think
books. My goodness, Wesley.
Jesus Christ! If I even said I wasn't gonna do it. Anyways, so it was a great book, great book. Again, it makes the movie like 10 times better because you know about all the little extra details that are in this book, and you're like, oh wow, that's why they did this, and that's why they did that. See how? Okay, I'm doing better. All right.
You're doing great. I'm loving this now.
Go ahead, Corey.
I still my favorite. I've said this 1,000 times. Still my favorite. This is not a spoiler. My favorite small thing that happens in that book is when they're like when they get the transmission from Naboo or whatever, and Obi-Wan says it's obviously a trap. Don't return any calls. Don't send any transmissions.
Send
and
no
he
reply.
leaves. Yeah, and then he leaves. He's like storms out all eloquently or whatever, and one of the handmaids is like, what did you think? We're stupid? Like, I still love that. That is still my favorite scene in any young adult
so
book.
good.
It's like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
Yeah, and again, that series it's finishing come this October, so get your pre-orders in now. And OK Andar mentioned in the chat something I gotta do. If you follow E.K. Johnston on Twitter, she has a link where you can get signed copies of the book. And again, as we said earlier in the show, get those pre-orders in, because if you don't order your signed copy now, don't know if it's gonna come in.
Yes, and it supports local bookstores, so that's another plus.
It's not through Amazon, who we have affiliate links. Yay, great. But also, if you can, help your local bookstore.
Hey, we have affiliate
Great
links with bookshop.org now, so you can get.
We do.
You can buy your books
Your
through
local bookstores.
bookstores through Utini now with
cool.
bookshop.org.
Still helps
So you
us
guys
out.
should check that out.
All right, Corey, bring us home.
I got one more.
We'll bring us second to last home.
All right,
Almost home.
Last one. I don't know. I hope I'm not stealing this from you, Eric. Most Wanted.
Good pick. Yes.
Great, good pick. I got others.
I knew
Let's
it.
talk about
I
this
knew
book.
it.
This book is incredible. Let's talk about
Most
it.
Wanted, so underrated. It's like it's the prequel to the Han Solo movie. So unbelievably good. Kira is an unbelievably good character.
Yep.
Yep.
This book
Only
is
book
like
I've ever read in one sitting.
like
cover to cover on a flight.
9.8 for me, man. Like it is up there.
Yeah.
It is such a good book. Like
Wow.
so good.
Yeah.
The a lot of lines, like as with all like sort of prequel to a movie books. Oh, nice. Is mine signed too?
I have mine too.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Box.
This was back in the Utini book box days. We got signed copies all
That's
the
right.
time.
That was in my
That's
first
right.
box, and I was like, "Oh my god, they sent out
I
signed books.
know.
What
I
is
know.
this?"
We used to.
And then we stopped doing it forever. Whoa.
You know, I still rarely get an email every once in a while from somebody like, "Hey, what happened to the Star Wars book box?" I'm like, "It's
That tell you
dead.
something?
It's dead, just like your hopes
Let
and
the
dreams."
past die. Kill it if you have to.
That's right. But yeah, this book is incredible. This was my thing for the only person that might write Han better than AC Crispin is Ray Carson. I think that this is Alden's Han to a T. You can hear the dialogue from the film characters in this book, and it is insane. Like
The silo. Remember what happened out of the silo? Yeah, that line that's
And
in the
then,
movie
"This is
is
the
in the
silo.
book. It's in the book.
This
It's
is
so
the
good.
silo.
Oh, it's so good.
It's just it's so good. It is one that like I want to have a lot. You can read it on a long weekend too. Just take a trip somewhere, go to a cabin, shut your phone off. You can just breeze through it, and then you'll, like Wes was saying with Queen's Peril, you'll want to watch Solo immediately after reading this. But if you can read this, then read Mur Lafferty's solo novelization, which again, another woman writing Han. I won't bring that one up next, but it's a great duology of that Solo era. And then of course Daniel Jose Older's Last Shots a bit later, but this Most Wanted so good. Great job, Corey. I was gonna do that, so I'm glad you did. All right, I'll bring us home with these. I have a two-parter because I have an adult novel and a junior reader. The adult novel we talked about a little bit earlier, but that's Rebecca Roanhorse's Resistance Reborn, which is
So good.
RR writing RR. This book was the huge hype train up to The Rise of Skywalker, a first-time Star Wars author writing the prequel book to the final Skywalker Saga film, had the most weight on its shoulders, and oh my god, it delivered. It has cameos. I don't recommend reading this early necessarily in your canon thing because there's so many characters from other mediums, not in a confusing way, but just in a way that if you know them, you will get so much enrichment from knowing who they are. But she wrote Poe perfectly, Rey perfectly, Leia perfectly. Like every character in here is written so well in the film, and it all fits so well together. It brings in stuff from the Aftermath books. It brings in stuff from Bloodline, and it's just such a fun freaking adventure with one of the most ruthless Corellian villains you will ever meet in any book. And it made me buy Rebecca Roanhorse's next books, like Black Sun, which was her original book, because of how well she wrote this. So huge recommendation for that. And then finally, I'm going to end on one I don't think we've maybe ever talked about. But it's by Elizabeth Wein, and it's Star Wars The Last Jedi.
Oh, yes, I love this one. Yes.
So
that's a
this
good
is the
one.
story of Rose and Paige Tico, and what they did essentially before the beginning of The Last Jedi. A lot of people really fell in love with Paige Tico in her intro there, but what else happened? And this is that. This is the story of those two doing missions together in the bombers. And I remember I read this after Master and Apprentice, and I was like, okay, this is so different. This is so different. But by the second half of the book, I was just breezing through it because it's a really fun, light book that gets this character again. Like Rey, we were talking about earlier, doesn't get as much love in the books as of yet. I'm sure that we've talked about this in the show. A couple years down the line, we'll probably pick up the books with these characters once enough time has passed. But it's a fun book to get some characters that don't get enough love. And I think that's some of the coolest things about the EU, about canon, is that that's the point. We get all these amazing women writing these women that we liked on screen, but we needed more time with. So definitely recommend this. Again, along with our other stacks, and we didn't hit all of them, which I think
Kelly Marie Tran is the audio book. Don't forget about that. She narrates the audio.
No way, is she really?
Rose herself.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
What a
I'm
great
gonna have
way
to
to
get
put
that and do a reread.
It's one of those weird projects. Yeah, Kelly Marie Tran did the audiobook for that one. Just like
like Ahsoka with E.K. Johnston.
That's what I was
gonna bring up.
Ashley Eckstein, yeah.
Yep. It's good.
And
It's a pretty good audiobook too. Like she does a decent job with it. Like especially for it had been, she's never done an audiobook before, and it's smooth. I mean, she did.
It's
a really
a hard
good job.
skill.
And,
And I think it's just cool because, as we're kind of getting to the tail end of this episode, we listed 12 books, like more than 15 books, 15, 16 books here. We're not even close to getting all of them written by women or that involve women now. And that would not have been the case 3 years ago. And I think it's such an encouraging, cool thing that these books of quality just continue. They're just pumping them out like crazy. And like female characters are at the forefront. Look at the High Republic now. Avar Kriss was the main in Light of the Jedi. Keeve Trennis is the main in the comic. Lula Talisola is the main in the Eye of Adventures comic. Vernestra Rose started the entire middle grade line. And the last book starred, we talked in the chat earlier, Out of the Shadows, Sylvester Yarrow is taking on the YA mantle. Like, these female characters are in charge of Star Wars going forward.
Yep.
Like the next movie is by Patty Jenkins. Like,
Oh, yes.
which I am
Oh my
so
God.
jacked about, by the way. I've been
Like-
dying to talk about this, but I just finished Rogue Squadron. Though I listened to the audiobook of the Legends book, and I'm like, man, I am so
Bada-bing.
friggin' jacked for that movie. It's gonna be so fun. And
Yeah.
Patty Jenkins is awesome. I really
Patty
like
Jenkins
her.
is an amazing director. I mean,
She is
both
really
of those
cool.
Wonder Woman movies. Oh my God, they're so good.
I don't
the World
understand
War
why
II
this-
imagery.
I still don't understand why the second one got such bad reviews. It was so good. I loved
really
1984. Yeah, me too.
COVID did a lot to people, man.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It did for sure.
Yeah, she's an amazing director. I can't wait for that.
Real quick, I did forget to say this earlier. I'm just going to say it because I'm supposed to. Corey, you mentioned you listen to Rogue Squadron. For those of you, these are breaking our rule a bit because these are not written by women. But last week we did mention that the Legends Essentials books were coming out. I know they're going to talk about them on Legends Look Back this week, but I neglected to mention earlier, our friends at Del Rey were kind enough to send a set so we could show them to you guys. So if you give me the camera for just a second as we get out of here, I want to show you guys these 4 books we talked about, including Rogue Squadron by Michael Stackpole, which, as we said earlier, it's book 1 now of the Rogue Squadron series, not X-Wing. So there's gonna be something different there. New paperback format.
Yep, it looks really good. What's on the back? What's in the back? Oh, just the Legends
just
banner.
Just a summary.
It's cool
but
seeing,
the banner covers
it's cool
all.
seeing the Legends banner on it. You know, it heavily features my favorite character.
Horn, baby.
It's a joke. It's not actually my favorite character. But listen, I will say Corin Horn's character, like people thought like somebody had kidnapped me in Slack the other day when I posted this. Corin Horn is a redeemable character in the Rogue Squadron book. And honestly, quite frankly, the Rogue Squadron series. Like he's like a decent character. He's not such a jackass or
You heard it here.
sexist, misogynist, gross pervert like he is an iJedi. You know, just a little bit. Just a little bit.
A little bit.
Corey, blink twice if you're being held against your will.
So additionally, other than that, man, this week or last week also came out 2 of the Thrawn books, including Dark Force Rising by Tim Zahn with this awesome new cover art featuring 2 people we've talked about quite a lot tonight, in Han and Leia with a freaky stormtrooper in the background. Again, this lovely cover design. I love the sizes of these new books too. They just read super easily. So that is absolutely gorgeous. And then, of course, a female character we haven't talked about tonight, the one and only Mara freaking Jade graces the cover of The Last Command.
We not talked about Mara Jade, man.
Not a lot of women write Mara Jade. Because Tim Zahn was like, that's my character. I don't know how it sounds. That's a bad impression. But this is another phenomenal cover. And Mara is an incredible character in these 3 books if you want to see someone kind of being super, super powerful, but also very conflicted. Love Mara in there. But my favorite woman in Star Wars of these 4 books is definitely featured in the last one that came out last week, which is Zana in Darth Bane Rule 2,
such a good
who is
cover.
front and center here.
Best cover, I think, of all the new covers by far.
Absolutely love it. Love her. If you haven't read the Bane trilogy by Drew Karpyshyn, you got to get it on these. The next wave of Legends Essentials will absolutely be the 3rd book in that series. So get the first 2. Get Zana here on your shelf because she is someone that is very important in the Old Republic times, and that's all I'm gonna say about that before I west myself up on that one.
Hey, I need to take some notes. Okay.
But yeah, I guess, guys, as we go out here, Emma, I want to start with you with this final question. We got a lot of great stuff happening in Star Wars right now as far as women coming up. The new Thrawn book is written by Timothy Zahn, but everyone has featured an incredible woman alongside Thrawn, including Aralani, including Thalius. We've got all these amazing, strong women in the Ascendancy. We also have the 3rd Padme book coming out from E.K. Johnston, Queen's Hope. Like, we're ending the year with so many of these amazing characters. Where do you think Star Wars goes from here? Like, we're getting more female creators. We could probably have more. And what can we as fans do to kind of let our voices be heard that this is what we want?
Yeah, so I think we are on the right path here with women writing Star Wars, because with more women writing Star Wars come more relatable female characters written from the female gaze, and that is always a good thing to have, some more variety in there. And I think as fans, we can vote with our wallets, so to speak. We can
Absolutely
buy the books that we love and, buy things of the characters that we love, and if we love these authors and these characters, then let's vote with our wallets. And I think with the High Republic, we're doing a great job with that. It's crazy. Claudia Gray and Justine Ireland, both 2 extremely key architects of the High Republic. That's amazing. And I think we're on a really, really good track. And I'm very very excited to see what Queen's Hope is going to be like. I'm excited to see how the Ascendancy trilogy is going to wrap up and some of those characters. I was really fell in love with Lakinda in that book. So I can't wait to see how that ends. And overall, just really good vibes. And I'm glad that we did this episode. It was really nice to look back.
Absolutely. I mean, thank you for the idea and for coming on. And I can't wait for the rest of the week. Again, as we said earlier, we want to remind you all, Wednesday evening, Cosmic Force, Thursday evening, Legends Look Back, and Cosmic Force is at, I'm going to say it, 8 p.m.
That is correct. Eastern time.
8 p.m. Eastern, so 7 p.m. the real time. If you know, you know. And then 9:30, Legends Look Back's Triumphant Return with a brand new couple of guest hosts, or not guest hosts, permanent hosts, new hosts, new look, that will be celebrating the women of comics and celebrating the women of Legends specifically. Yeah, I guess that's great. Corey West, any final thoughts on where we're going? Any characters and titles we missed? So
one thing that we may have missed, I know that nobody missed, but was in The Last Jedi. I love a good swerve, and I love how when Leia went down and was hurt, and they had to have a new person in command, and they panned over to Poe, and people were like, "Well, it's gonna be Poe," and then they made Admiral Holdo the leader of the rebellion there, and people were just like, I was like, man, hell yeah, screw everybody that thought that was gonna be Poe or somebody else. That's such a great swerve. And then she created one of the best maneuvers of all time, and one of the best scenes of all time in a Star Wars movie.
I love that one. That's so awesome.
And it was so good. And then I guess going forward, I hope that in Rogue Squadron we get a female pilot as the lead character.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. Yeah, that's something that is neglected in a lot of the Star Wars storytelling in general. Is a pilot has got a sort of a bro thing attached to it, and there are women pilots in Rogue Squadron. In Rogue Squadron, yes, in Rogue Squadron, Alphabet Squadron, and I think. Is there any female pilots? I think there is in Rogue One. Is what I was trying to say. Rogue One. I think there's some female pilots.
I think so. In the comics, there's quite a bit. Shara Bay. There's a Starlight Squadron.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. So I would love to see a bunch of really prominent women in her film. Like that would be fantastic. I mean, what does the future look like? I mean, I think you nailed it, Emma. Like from the female gaze. Like that's what it is, right? It's like it's women writing women characters that are not sexualized. They're not like they're not like this classic chauvinistic sort of, like there's history there, sure, in Legends and older Star Wars films and stuff, but like we're moving on from that history, right? We've decided as a culture that like we don't want all of our women to have to be in scantily clad outfits anymore for them to be popular characters. And there is something to be strongly appreciated by that, right? For young women and young girls to grow up seeing characters that are strong because they're strong, not because they're in a slave outfit, right? And like
you don't have to be sexist to be cheeky.
That's right. Yes, exactly.
Remember, everybody.
Word of the podcast.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Yeah, I'm all for more characters like Rey being written. I mean, she is in not any way inappropriately written all the way through the sequel trilogy, and she's a perfect character. I mean, she's really, really good. So I think the way forward is paved with women at the helm, like to continually get more women in Star Wars, and I'm all about it. I want everybody, I say this all the time, right? Like we're not social justice warriors, right? We're not use all the buzzwords. We're not Disney shills. I just want anybody to be able to watch Star Wars and be like, that could be me. That's all I want, right? Because we all felt like that, right? Like
absolutely
bunch of white dudes, we all felt like that. And like for Emma, who's a bit younger than us, right, and a woman to be able to see herself in Star Wars, that means a lot to me, and I hope everybody gets that experience out of Star Wars. And the only way we get that is by allowing creators to tell the story from their point of view, right? And
exactly,
the more the merrier.
and we mean, gosh, we've had such great movements forward with animation with characters like Ahsoka, who we haven't like mentioned at all, and characters like Hera in the chat and Rebels, and like Sabine, and like kids get it. Like, they're growing up in a world where, there's every type of person in Star Wars, and that's awesome. So as adults, we sometimes need to catch up. We need to like say, all right, kids, we will get on your level. And I'm looking forward with the announced projects that are coming up with things like the Acolyte, things like that. We're going in a great direction. Keep pre-ordering the books you want. Keep watching the shows. Keep loving these characters. And you know what? We may not like everything because it's stories. Stories are different. And that's fine. But the fact is, we're going to get more people telling their own stories in Star Wars, and it's going to be freaking awesome. Again, Emma, thank you for coming on this show. Thank you for this amazing idea. And all of you in the chat, thank you for telling us some of your favorite characters and your favorite things. And we hope that some of these books kind of lit a fire in you, and maybe you want to check them out. And again, if you do, head over to Utini, check out a book profile, figure out what you want to do, support whatever bookstore you want, and read the next story that you're going to love with your new favorite character.
And pick up a Utini shirt that we're all wearing the same one.
We are all, for the first time, we are all wearing the same branded Utini shirts.
This has never happened.
We had to call it out. It's never happened before, and it shan't again because Charles hates us. And I guess he's coming back next week.
Charles is on night shift, just so we're clear.
He's on night shift, to be clear. We never did say that this time, did we? But all right, everyone. Okay. We love you all. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you all for listening, because that'll do it for this week's episode of The Living Force. If you support us on Patreon, thank you so much. We hope to see you in the Discord or anywhere else. And keep your eyes peeled for our upcoming Patreon listener events. A special thank you goes out to Cheryl Bell, OK Endar, Jeremy Kazina, Patrick Ortiz, and Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, and Elizabeth Cloutier, Jason Mitchell, Freddie C., and Sally and Chris Eilerson in our Alliance High Command. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at Eric Eilerson. Corey is at Doc Star Wars MD. Charles, when he's here, is at C. Hankel. And Wes is at Boss Wes. And Emma is at Irma Jedi 26. A special thank you is out to Matt Davenport, our amazing editor. Ryan, our graphic designer extraordinaire. Check out his work on Legends Look Back this week. And Wes, our producer and community manager. Thank you to Corey, Wes, and Emma for podcasting with me tonight. Thank you to all of you for tuning in. And as always, may the Force be with you.